driven the course over the last 2 days, and we're very excited that you're going to be driving the 2019 Santa Fe. Now, on this drive, I've been in this business for 20 years. This is one of the nicest drives, the nicest landscapes I've ever seen. And there's a high chance you're going to see deer and sheep, so be cautious. We don't want any hit animals. And then also, one thing about this is at the very end of your drive, we have an off-road course that'll go 275 feet straight up in a very short distance. We had a lot of fun over the last 2 days driving it, so feel free to do that. Now with Santa Fe is a very important model for us. Since we started selling Santa Fe in the year 2000, we have sold 1.6 million Santa Fe's. Now, it's so important that when we developed here in the United States, when we developed a product concept, many of the features were put into production by R&D. Some examples, number one is rear occupant alert. We're going to go into deep detail on that, and that was an idea that was originated here in the United States. Also, another area is our emphasis on visibility. That's another area that you're going to see in the design, and based off of our consumer research, that's what we put into production. Now, I want to introduce some key members. So, in product planning, we have Mike O'Brien. He's the Vice President of Product, Corporate, and Digital Planning, and he's my old boss, the best product planning boss ever. So, and then we also have Trevor Lai. He's the manager of the CEV, so he's been very busy. He'll be busy this year and next year too. So we also have a special guest. In the back of the room, we have John Chirica. He's from our Hyundai Technical Center. He's the Director of Powertrain. Now, our PR team is available to assist you with whatever you guys need. We have, I'm going to introduce our PR team members. A person that needs no introduction, the best PR boss ever, Jim Traynor. And we also have Miles Johnson in the back. He's our Santa Fe PR lead. And we have Lori Schultz. She planned this whole event. Also, we have Ariel Garcia Linares. He'll be available to answer any questions. Now, one thing, yesterday we revealed the Elantra facelift. Now, if for some reason you didn't get the link to the press release or the pictures, just let Miles know and he'll go ahead and check your email and send that back out to you. Now, before we get started, I'm going to talk about three things. One is embargo. The embargo only on driving impressions is August 27th, or next Monday, at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
What was it, August 27th?
12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to have a question and answers after the presentation. Now, please hold your questions. As you can see, we're in a big room. So what we're going to be doing is Miles and Lori will be giving you a microphone to ask your questions, so that way the speakers can actually hear your questions. So please hold your questions till after the presentation. And the presentation has a lot of detail, but all the presentation is going to be on your flash drive. With that said, I would like to welcome Mike O'Brien.
Good morning. Just one point of clarification. I think Miles has only had one PR boss. So I guess Jim is by default the best one. Hey, let's get into this and we'll talk a little bit about the market, the economy, and of course the product. Hope you all had a good sleep last night. It's a little chilly here, and I'm from Chicago, so you'd think I'd get used to this. So let's talk a little bit about what's in the news all the time lately. 232 tariff discussion, NAFTA discussion, and let's talk a little bit about our U.S. presence. So right now, our capacity, our Alabama plant, where the Santa Fe is constructed, it's about 400,000 units. We employ about 3,000 people there. And when you look at our whole U.S. operation, we employ about 25,000 people with Hyundai and our affiliate companies here in the United States. When you include our dealers, the count is 47,000 employees when you include improved our retail network. So we do have quite an economic footprint here in the United States. We're adding now a $388 million investment to this plant in Alabama and Montgomery, and that's to a new engine line for a next generation powertrain that we'll be building there. So we're continuing to invest in North America. Just a few years ago, we built a new facility in Fountain Valley. I think that was about a $220 million investment there. So we're continuing to invest in our economy here in the United States. Now, when you look at the overall light vehicle market, it's expected to be about 17 million in 2018. That's a decline of about 2% year over year. You know, last year we had lower interest rates. We had lower gas prices. This year we're experiencing continuation of quantitative easing. So interest rates are continuing to climb, the Fed rate's continuing to climb. That means longer term loans. That means that customers end up paying a little bit more. That means lease prices go up a little bit. And so therefore manufacturers are placing more incentive money on their vehicles. And all of those things put together are pushing the market down a little bit, about 2% is forecasted versus 2017. When you look at our performance in the U.S. market, since 2002, we've been a solid number 4. Of course, we're expecting with all of these new CUV products that you're getting a chance to see, we're hoping to improve our position. And you'll see in a minute that our mix of CUV SUV products has been climbing steadily in the last couple of years. Looking at that, you can see the industry itself. If you look calendar year to date, the industry has improved to 68.6, I shouldn't say improved, it's shifted to 68.6% truck category products. And those are pickup trucks, vans, and CUV SUV products. That's up almost 5 points from last year, year over year. If you look at us, we've improved 9.6% year to date in terms of our truck mix, and that's now brought us up to about 43.5% year to date in terms of truck category share of our sales in the United States. When you look at safety performance, we're unsurpassed right now. So we have 8 in terms of IIHS Top Safety Pick or Top Safety Pick Plus. We're very soon, Trevor will mention, we're virtually positive that we'll achieve a Top Safety Pick rating for the new Santa Fe that we'll be driving today, so that'll take us up to 9. Again, we'll be at the top of the market in terms of the number of awards given to one manufacturer. As well, with Kelley Blue Book, we received the first place award for 5-year cost to own for our lineup of vehicles. So it really represents our continued focus on industry-leading ownership and value in terms of overall cost to ownership, maintenance, and other things that contribute to that. So we continue to work on that with various programs. We'll talk about one of them in a minute. But of course, warranty is one of them, and other things that we do to reduce the cost of ownership for our customers contribute to this award. When you look at fuel economy, we've got if you're thinking about the way the government rates, the EPA comes out with what's called the Fuel Economy Trends Report once per year. And this is just a graphic representation of that report. So when you look at that report, we're number 2 in the industry, right behind Mazda. But more importantly, we show the most dramatic gain year over year in terms of fuel economy improvement. So about a 1.3% year over year. That gives us a pretty big improvement from previous year. And so that puts us at a fleet average of 28.8, just a little bit behind number 1, Mazda. And of course, our volumes are much higher than Mazda, so that's with a fuller lineup of products as well. I mentioned a little earlier what we do to help our customers in terms of the purchase and ownership process. In February, we announced what we call Shopper's Assurance. And Shopper's Assurance is all about making the purchasing process easier, more transparent, and more approachable for our retail customers. So we offer a flexible test drive. It could be at your work, could be at your home, could be at the dealership or another location of your choice. We offer transparent pricing. So on the dealer's website, we show our MSRP, less factory support, and less dealer support, as well as dealer special offers. So it actually shows net pricing for those stores that are enrolled. It allows a streamlined purchasing process. So many of the things that you have to spend sometimes hours doing at the dealership, used car evaluation, finance and insurance assessment and costs, a lot of this can be done through a web tool that we provide through this program. So most of this homework you can do at home before you go to the store. So when you go to the store, you're armed with a lot more and better information and more confidence that you're going to get the vehicle you want at the price that you want. And then finally, we offer a worry-free 3-day exchange program. So if the customer is unhappy with the vehicle for any reason, they can exchange it during that 3-day period. So let's talk about the product itself. When you think about categories, you know, J.D. Power, Auto Pacific, everybody has their own way of categorizing products. Primarily, when you think about segments or categories, the first input's cross-shopping. What do people actually shop against your product? Beyond that is the vehicle itself in terms of size and spec and price. So when you look at these categories that we have, which is similar to most manufacturers, small CUV is for us is Kona. It could be a Mazda 3 in the case of them. It would be the Juke in the case of Nissan, I believe, or the Kicks perhaps. Anyway, then we have subcompact SUV, which is Tucson. That could include RAV4 and Escape and CRV. And then compact SUV Santa Fe, we'll show those competitors in a minute. That would include the new Blazer and products like Murano. And then midsize SUV like Highlander and of course our Santa Fe XL. So when you look at this chart, you'll see that the biggest growth year over year has been with, since 2014. It's been in the Kona area, 83% growth in that category, 27% growth in the subcompact category where Tucson and RAV4 and CRV compete. The Santa Fe that you're looking at today, 12% growth since 2014, and 28% growth in our 3-row model where Highlander, Santa Fe XL, and products like that are in the market. In terms of volume year over year, you can see that the compact area is very steady volume. This is IHS forecast numbers. So you can see it's declining very slightly through 2025 and basically a very stable category. And the decline's mostly a representation of more competitors in the categories above and below it. I mentioned this a little bit before. Year over year, you can see here from 2012 to 17, we've gone from a 17% CUV mix of our total product lineup in terms of sales. Now we're up to 36% through 17. Through 18 calendar year to date, we're at 43.5. I mentioned that in an earlier slide. Maybe more importantly, last month we achieved our highest level ever, 46% CUV mix of our total sales last month. So we're closing the gap versus the market, and therefore hopefully it will contribute more to increased sales. So this is the competitors that are in compact category for CUVs. The Ford Edge, the Murano, a Cherokee, a Subaru Outback, the Sorento, and of course the new Blazer. And I believe there's a new Honda product, I think it's called the Passport, that's coming a little bit further out that'll also be in this category. In terms of dimensions, compared to the outgoing model, we've increased the length 2.8 inches, the width a little bit less than a ½ inch, height a little bit more than a ½ inch, and the wheelbase 2.6 inches. In terms of how that fits in the market, this is a well-established category. This is our 4th generation product. And what you notice as auto analysts is that the category matures, the products tend to converge in terms of spec, in terms of dimensions, I guess is the best way to say it. So you see we're right in the mid-pack in terms of dimensions, whether it's length, width, height, or wheelbase. We're basically right in the middle and a competitive spec in each one. Beyond that, even though our product is sized right, we were able, through the use of advanced materials, achieve the lowest weight in the category. So our weight of 3591 is not only lowest in the category, but what you'll listen to Trevor speak about is the large amount of standard equipment we've added to this vehicle. So we've been able to achieve the lowest weight in the class. At the same time, we put a tremendous amount of new standard equipment in the area of safety in the car, which really is a remarkable feat to do both. When you're looking at cargo space, we have a very competitive number. So the new model, 71.3 cubic feet behind the front seats, 35.9, nearly 40 feet behind the second row seats. And you can see, looking at our competitors, we're mid-pack, we're basically very competitive with all of those models. We have 60/40 full flat second row seats. We have a 2-level cargo floor in the back, so we have a place for hidden items, a way to separate secure cargo from things that are you're less concerned about. And then we have a 2-speed tailgate. So our power tailgate has a normal speed as well as an express speed if you want to hurry up. In terms of powertrains, we have a 2.4-liter normally aspirated engine. We have a 2-liter turbocharged engine, which you'll be driving mostly today. Both are available, but I think most of the vehicles that we'll be driving today are the 2-liter. That's coupled to an all-new 8-speed transmission we'll speak about in just a moment, and our first H-Track all-wheel drive system for Hyundai product. And we also feature standard idle stop and go that you'll experience today for both engines. So the 2.4-liter engine develops 185 horsepower, 178 foot-pounds of torque, and delivers fuel economy of city 22, highway 29 combined 25. The 2-liter turbo, which are virtually all the vehicles you'll be in today, develops its complete full torque level, 260 foot-pounds of torque at 1,450 RPM. And what's remarkable about that is the stall speed of the torque converter is around that same speed, and so therefore you get really, really good off-the-line throttle response with this engine because the maximum torque is coupled to the stall speed of the converter, and therefore you get all the torque available at launch. That engine delivers 20 city, 25 highway, and 22 combined fuel economy. And different than the outgoing engines, the outgoing engine used a hydraulically controlled, continuously valve change or variable valve timing operation. So that was hydraulically controlled in the outgoing model. The new model uses an electric servo motor type system, so it's faster and more precise. That's for better response, fuel economy, and emissions. Let's talk a little bit about the new 8-speed transmission. So a number of design changes have been made in this approach for this 8-speed transmission to give it very low friction characteristics and therefore very high efficiency. So we reduced the number of spool valves, you can see in the upper left-hand corner, in the valve body. And all of those spool valves are a source of potential leakage. And by eliminating a number of those spool valves, we had 20 in the outgoing transmission, now we have 12. We can reduce the oil pump capacity because there's less chance for leaking. When you reduce the oil pump capacity, we reduce the amount of power that's required to operate the oil pump, because anything that's in excess of the need is just dumped back into the sump. And so we've therefore created an efficiency improvement by reducing the pump size. We've also changed bearings. We've gone where we can from a roller bearing that has a line contact to a ball bearing that has a point contact, and therefore reduces friction further. And we've also gone to a multi-plate torque converter for smoother operation and better engagement. In terms of the overall ratio, so the 6-speed compared to the 8-speed, we have a much wider ratio, so that gives us a taller 8-speed for freeway cruising and better fuel economy and quieter operation, but also gives us a lower first gear for better initial acceleration performance. At the same time, the roller bearings that remain in that transmission or transaxle, we've reduced the number of rollers and therefore reduced friction further by cutting the friction contact in the roller bearing itself by reducing the roller elements. We've also gone to a new ATF fluid that has better friction characteristics, low friction characteristics at colder temperatures. And we've eliminated one of the one-way clutches that further reduces friction. So the whole effort here has been on improving efficiency going from the 6-speed to the 8-speed through the reduction of friction. In terms of H-Track, the basic system is a center coupling. It's back here in the corner. You can take a look at it. It's a very high-speed operation. It uses an electric servo motor and fluid to operate the multi-plate clutch. It allows torque vectoring front and rear. It gives you optimal distribution in terms of front to rear and left to right for both driving dynamics and inclement weather slippery road performance. And it's linked to our drive mode selection. So whether you're in comfort or sport or smart, it tunes the all-wheel drive operation to those drive modes. And you'll see that in just a moment. What's different about this all-wheel drive system, and I hope you'll be able to see it today and witness it today, is it's a predictive system. Most systems on the market today are reactive, meaning it waits for a wheel to slip and then it reacts to that by clamping that wheel and pushing the torque to the opposite wheel. In this case, it's constantly monitoring all these signals, whether it's driver input signals, steering wheel or throttle, if it's engine input signals, transmission signals, stability control signals, or environmental signals like temperature and road condition. It's constantly measuring them, and it's predicting and learning what the transmission and all-wheel drive systems need to do in advance of the wheel slipping, or a yaw condition where the vehicle is not aligned the way the driver wishes it to be aligned to the road surface. So the upper side is a comparison of a conventional all-wheel drive system to H-Track. Basically, what it's showing here is that this coupling is able to react faster and make changes to right to left or front to rear more rapidly, and instead of, again, waiting for a slipping condition, actually start making the changes before the slipping condition starts to occur, or the yaw condition starts to occur. And again, this is in your flash drive, so you can look at this later. So what this shows in this slide is how the vehicle drive mode selection actually changes the way the all-wheel drive system performs. So it changes the torque split and it changes how it reacts. Additionally, in the drive modes, it also changes shift schedule, both shift schedule on coast down or braking, as well as shift schedule upon acceleration. So on the left side, it shows a shift point change by drive mode on braking, and on the right side, it's under acceleration. Let's talk a little bit about body. So a lot has been done to improve body structure. So safety is really two components. One is, how do I manage energy in a crash sequence, convert that energy into heat and prevent injuries, and that's through body construction. It's through materials, it's through how you connect the materials, it's through the kinematics of how the material collapses. And so with us, we've been able to increase strength with the much expanded use of advanced high-strength steel. Now we're up to 67%, and that gives us an overall body rigidity going from 58.6 to 67 from the outgoing model to the new model. And you can see here where we've employed hot stamp parts for even greater strength improvement. So by employing advanced high-strength steel, we can reduce the steel thickness in many cases, or the amount of steel, but still have superior strength characteristics. And then finally, one of my favorite slides, like Boeing, we've gone to advanced aerospace-based catalyzed adhesives throughout our body construction. So we now use 386 feet of this aerospace-based catalyzed adhesive, in addition to welding, whether it's laser welding or spot welding or other types of connections. So this gives us very superior strength. It gives us great noise isolation. It gives us great body rigidity. It's really very consistent in terms of its performance. So it's allowed us to reduce mass by almost 52 pounds compared to conventional connection techniques. Total weight savings over 88 pounds by doing this. Fuel efficiency up almost 1.5% just by going to these advanced adhesives. And carbon dioxide output per year, using EPA's number, I think it's 15,000 miles, is 169 pounds of carbon dioxide reduction per year by using these adhesives. And then we're going to move on. I'll show you a quick video. This video will talk about the design of the vehicle from Andrew Moyer, who's at our Irvine Design Center. He'll give you a quick briefing on the design of the vehicle. Thank you. And after that will be Trevor speaking about the product.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm a design manager here at Hyundai's California Design Center. And I'm here to introduce our brand new 2019 Santa Fe. We've completely redesigned the Santa Fe, and our goal was to make it much more of an SUV. The previous Santa Fe Sport really had a almost minivan-like impression. And with the new design, we wanted it to say proudly, I'm an SUV. To achieve that, we've done a few things on the side particularly, one of which is to make the beltline much more stable. The previous car's beltline was really raked, whereas the new one is much more horizontal and it runs smoothly into the cowl with the windscreen pushed back and more upright. This gives the car a much stronger, more purposeful appearance. It also makes the hood seem longer, which makes it much more powerful. At the front of the vehicle, we've made some changes as well. Along with the shorter dash to axle, we've sort of compacted the front overhang and changed the overall impression of the vehicle. The previous car was leaned back, whereas the new one has a much more purposeful stance, like a linebacker, pushing forward into the wind. Here at the front of the car, we have our signature cascading Hyundai grille. In this instance, it's more upright and has a very strong chainmail texture in it. We've emphasized the width with a chrome element that bridges the DRL lamps in the corners with the grille in the middle. The headlamps are now stacked with the functionality separated between the upper DRL and the lower main combi unit. And next to the combi lamp, we have a functional air curtain. Here's where we show the power in the car. We have this nice, strongly bulged fender flare, and we've achieved that by actually having an undercut here that lets us pull the fender out a little bit more so that it looks a little bit stronger. The mirrors are now mounted on the body, so instead of having a big black triangle here, we have an extra window allowing more visibility from the inside. At the back, we're also emphasizing the width of the vehicle. To do that, we stretched the lamps out as far as we could and bridged them with a chrome trim similar to the front. We've also divided the lamp functionality to let us make the lamps really thin. The lower fascia has a rugged off-road appearance. On the interior, the main theme was inspired by an A-frame wave that comes around and breaks behind the Navi screen. This allowed us to push the rest of the instrument panel down as low as possible to give a wide open feel when you're sitting in the car. This also allows surprise and delight features like the open bin above the glove box door. As you look around the rest of the interior, you can see we've applied interesting textures and materials throughout. You can see the contrast stitching both on the doors, seats, and on the instrument panel really emphasizes the quality that we've put into the vehicle. In the door panel, the speaker grille has an embossed geometric pattern that was inspired by orthographic projections of mountains. The fabrics that we put into this vehicle are more like ones you would find in your home than what you'd normally find in a typical automotive interior. You can see that on the headliner and on the fabric trim version of the interior. We've immersed the driver in technology with available 7-inch cluster and 8-inch display for the Navi screen. In the back seat, the lower beltline makes it much easier for rear seat passengers, especially small ones, to see out of, something my kids will really appreciate. Thank you for joining me on this tour of the new Santa Fe today. If there's one thing I'd like you to remember is that the Santa Fe is now an SUV.